What up? Back here with another video. Reacting to this Apex event. Actually, this is a really good event, and I always keep saying this. We hate on these Apex cards because there's not as much high profile, high stakes fights, but they're still bangers, and it's still enjoyable to watch. But let's start off with the first fight on the card, man. Talita Alencar gets a very dominant win and a very good submission against Ariana Carnelossi. I knew that Talita Alencar was going to out-grapple Carnelossi, and I'm going to be real, I thought this was going to be a closer fight than I thought because Carnelossi is a pretty physical person. Pretty hard to take down, but no, Alencar just was able to get the takedowns, able to control her, landed really good ground and pound, and was able to get the submission. And she had like 2 sub attempts, and both of them were pretty close. There were a lot of submissions in this fight. A lot of good submissions. So, yeah, very dominant win. Next, Song Jung Ko gets a very, very dominant win against Phil Rowe. Just utterly smothers him, destroys him. I don't think Phil Rowe landed that many strikes, to be honest. Yeah, he landed like 11 strikes compared to 124, which is insane. I mean, look at the significant strike count. It's not even fucking close. Yeah, Phil Rowe had some. Phil Rowe just didn't have any moments, and he's kind of like a bounce back kind of person, but he was not able to get that at all. And Sung Kyo Ko was able to get a dominant win. His top control is just on a whole nother level. His takedowns. The problem is, in this stage of MMA, you can't just be like this. You got to be well-rounded. You got to be able to strike and wrestle. And that's why this performance kind of does simper my hopes, because Ko looks really dominant and he's a really good wrestler, but at some point he is going to face someone that is well-rounded and will be able to defend the takedowns. And I just don't think that Ko was really as fast on the feet as he should be, but very dominant win against Phil Rowe. I think he's getting closer and closer to being on that ranked level. So, yeah. Next, Alice Ardelene gets a very dominant decision win against Montserrat Conejo Ruiz. I had the prediction for this. I chose Ko by decision, Ardelene by decision. And, yeah, this was a scrappy fight. Ruiz, she kind of sucks. She's getting pieced up. She has no head movement. And it very much showed. So, Ardelene was able to land a jab effectively, piece her up in certain moments, hurt her really bad at the end of the third round. But, yeah, it was just a scrappy WMMA fight that looks really nice. And then you realize both these guys suck. So, yeah. Next, Norma Dumont gets the controversial split decision against Ketlen Vieira. This was a very close fight, and it was really competitive. I don't know what Norma Dumont's game plan was in this fight, because it was clear from the get-go that she was the faster striker on the feet, but she was very inactive. She didn't put out as much volume as she usually does, and she kind of looked like she didn't look the same as she usually does in this fight, but Vieira was able to have a lot of success with the grappling in this fight. And now, Vieira is a very good wrestler, and she is a very strong woman, so I definitely get it. Like, she was doing the same thing to Macy Chiasson, who is a really good grappler herself. Vieira is a very good grappler, but I'm going to be real with you guys. I picked Norma Dumont by decision. I honestly had Vieira winning this fight. I gave rounds 2 and 1 to Vieira. I'm going to be honest with you. I think I can get why round 2 was the closest round in this entire fight. Round 3 definitely went to Dumont. Round 1 was definitely Vieira. And round 2, Norma Dumont, I think she won this fight because of the fact she was landing some good shots in Vieira. And Vieira couldn't do enough with her top control to really actually sway the round her way. So, even though people will call this a robbery, I don't think it is a robbery. I think it was just a really close fight, and it's clear that now you can't just lay on somebody and wrestle with no attempt to finish the fight anymore to win rounds, And this fight proves it. These judges, I don't know what happened. They become based now. They actually care about damage and finishing fights, actually landing damaging hits from, bro, I'm gonna be real. Ketlen Vieira didn't do as much when she had top control in rounds 2, and Norma Dumont, she was able to be better on the feet. She landed damaging shots, and she was doing really well landing those combinations. So, And I know Norma Dumont said this after the fight that she wants one more win before a title shot. This makes sense. Kayla Harrison is fighting Amanda Nunes sometime this year. I mean next year. So it just makes sense why Norma Dumont wants one more fight. I would love for her to fight Pena, Juliana Pena, just because I just think Pena's trash. That's such an easy fight for Dumont. It really is. And I don't rate Pena at all. I'm gonna be real. I think she's trash. I think she never deserved to be champion. I mean, she deserved to be champion, but she just got it because she got Amanda Nunes cleared the division. She got one win, and I'm gonna be real. She lost to Pennington. So yeah, man. So yeah, Norma Dumont versus Pena. You gotta book that. Make it a title eliminator. Anyways, next to the one fight that was actually pretty goofy, but entertaining, man. Next, we got Dante Johnson versus Cedric Dumas. Dante Johnson actually impressed me more in this fight because he was able to handle adversity. I think a lot of these fighters, are so dominant in the first round and all these type of things that you kind of just think that they're not going to do well in the second round. But in the second round, even though he was dominating the first round, let me get that straight. He was dominating the first round. Second round, you'd think you were going to start gassing and not do as well. But no, he kept going. And for a guy who's just started MMA, who has a 7-0 record, he is pretty impressive. Cedric Dumas, I'm going to be real, he's not that caliber of fighter. Kind of sucks. So, obviously, Dante Johnson needs more wins, but very, very impressive win. Very impressive performance as well. Next, we got Timmy Kwamba versus Chango Lee. Chango Lee had a very dominant first round. He was able to get the back, and he was able to latch up with really close submissions, but Kwamba was hanging there. He was surviving. Then in the second and third round, Chango Lee slowed down heavily. He was not as aggressive as he used to be, and you could tell his takedowns were a lot more telegraphed. He was not able to get takedowns as much, and Timmy Kwamba looked fine. He looked good in there. And he was latching up submissions. He was making attempts to finish the fight. Round 2 was very back and forth, but I gave that to Kwamba. Then for round 3, yeah, that was utter domination. Kwamba was able to get top control, land some damaging hits, was able to get a couple submission attempts. I don't know why we had no submission attempts. He clearly had 3-4 submission attempts. Yeah, but very impressive fight. Next, we got Billy Alcana getting the submission win against Kevin Christian. I said KO because he does drop Kevin Christian with a right hook, and he was able to latch up a rear naked choke when he gets on mount, and yeah, he gets slept, man. He got slept. Very impressive performance. This is against the upcoming prospect. So, you know for sure that this is a good win. I think he wanted to go out there and put a performance, especially after the Ibo Aslan fight, where there was not as much action. And because of that, he's just saying, I need to prove to these guys that, I am the real deal. Billy Alcana is actually pretty good. I think he has a lot of potential. And I do see him going pretty far. So, yeah, and I'm eating some candy right now. But it was a really good fight, really impressive one. So, yeah, I really liked it. I really liked the performance, man. Next, we got the first fight of the main card. We have Alan Nascimento versus Cody Durden. This was a really scrappy fight. Cody Durden was putting hands on Alan Nascimento in the first round. He was constantly pressuring. He was fighting really hard in there. And I think Alan Nascimento, he had problems defending the 1-2s. He was getting pressured a lot. He couldn't really shoot as many takedowns. But then, Cody Durden in the second round, he's doing the same thing, right? Then he gets caught with an elbow. And Alan Nascimento, from the elbow, because Cody gets dropped, Alan Nascimento locks up an anaconda choke. Because of that, he's able to get the submission win. Very impressive comeback performance from Alan Nascimento. I felt like he was losing that fight and getting that submission win. It shows that he's a really good grappler. I predicted him by submission in the first round. I felt like he was going to catch Cody Durden in some kind of darce or something. But, yeah, he did. So, yeah. Cody Durden, I mean, it was an impressive performance for a guy on 10 days' notice, so I don't hold it that hard against him. Next, Charles Radke gets a very dominant win against Daniel Frunza. He was able to latch up a couple submission attempts, and they were really close. They were under the chin. I felt like he could have finished it the first round, but he didn't. But he was able to finish the third round, and a very impressive performance. I think Charles Radke showed that he can grapple as well. He has some really good back takes. Daniel Frunzel's kind of a bottom of the barrel kind of opponent, so not as impressive. I'd like to see Radke get a jump up in competition. But Radke, he's actually pretty decent. He's decent. He's only lost to good competition. Like Carl Prates and Mike Mallet, who are now ranked. So, yeah, like those are dangerous guys who can knock people out. So, I don't think those losses are that bad. But, yeah, he's pretty good. Next, we got Isaac Dogarian versus Yadier Dofel. And I'm going to say one thing. I think this fight was rigged. I picked Yadier Dofel, but then I switched my pick to Isaac Dogarian. And I switched my pick to Isaac Dogarian because he's a really good grappler. But holy fuck, he was retarded in this fight. What the hell was he doing? Because he gets his back taken, right? And the first thing he does, instead of attacking the hands like any experienced grappler does, he punches his face. He has a rear naked choke getting literally locked on him, and he's punching his face instead of fighting the hands. He tried really hard. He had an insane heart. The choke was under him. He was getting choked to sleep. But then he had to tap. And, I don't know. It's just, his coach, Isaac Dogarian's coach being James Krause too. Not a good look. I felt like that fight was rigged. Because I picked Dogarian and he decided to be a retard one fight. He was showing impressive grappling in his last fight. But then now he's, doing these dumb mistakes that no experienced grappler would ever do, It's just kind of weird. But I am not downplaying Yadier Dovel's performance. He looked really good in that fight. And I think Yadier Dovel, you know what? I picked him in his last fight, and I didn't pick him this time. I picked him originally. I should have picked Yadier Dovel, and he's a really impressive prospect. And you know what? He's really strong for a guy his weight, and I think I underestimated that. So, you know what? He probably was under those Cuban experiments as well. So, you know what? I'm picking Yadier Dovel from now on. Fuck it. I did not pick Dogarian. I picked Yadier Dovel. Ignore the topology. Next, we got Jeremiah Wells getting the decision win against Themba Gorimbo. Wells was losing the first round in the first half of the second round, but he was able to come back. And I think Themba Gorimbo's fight IQ needs to be studied because holy hell, this motherfucker is dumb as fuck. He was getting caught in easy submissions. He was not pacing himself well. He was kind of grappling, and he kept grappling, and he kept starting these exchanges, and he would just end up on bottom position or get subbed or get into a submission. He did not fight good. And to be honest with you, I don't rate Themba Gorimbo that high, but I picked him against Jeremiah Wells because he was coming off a long layoff. He is getting up there in age, and I thought that his explosivity and his build would be a problem for a guy like Themba Gorimbo. Or no, I feel like a guy of Themba's build would be a problem for Jeremiah Wells, but no, he pressed me. He had a very good win. Themba Gorimbo is a good prospect, but man, that was a bad performance by Gorimbo, but very good performance for Wells. He was doing the right things. He was fighting really smart. He paced himself really well, and I think that time off really did help him, so that was a good one. Next, the craziest fight on the card. Holy hell, what the fuck was this fight? So, Cortez Acosta... Okay, I'm going to give you a play-by-play of what happened in this fight. So, the fight is how it usually goes, right? Ante Delija is the one pressing forward. Waldo Cortez is on the back foot, and he's usually on the back foot every single time. And then, they're clinching for a bit. Ante Delija tries to shoot a takedown. Doesn't get it. And then they start scrapping. They start scrapping against the cage. Ante Delija eye pokes Acosta, but then he starts punching him. The ref doesn't see it, and then he gets in between both the fighters. And Ante thinks he's won. So he's out there celebrating. He thinks the fight got stopped. But Mark Smith, the referee, didn't wave off his hands. And he was just checking the eye poke on Cortez Acosta. So there was some confusion. Like, is the fight continued, or is this a no contest, or something like that? But it happened to be that there was just a timeout. He was going to wait for 5 minutes. And then, Cortez Acosta, He's a tough motherfucker. He had an eye poke. His eye was not doing good. He couldn't really see as much. And he still continued to fight. And 1 minute after the whole thing, he knocks out Ante Delija. He hits him with a banger right hand. With a banger right overhand. Just freaking drops him and then KOs. It just sleeps him with the ground and pound. I mean, what an impressive comeback performance against a dangerous prospect like Ante Delija. Delia, or something like that. Yeah, I think it's Dante Delia. Yeah, very impressive performance from Ante Delija. And I mean, very impressive performance from Waldo Cortez Acosta. Fuck me, bro. I'm fucking tweaking. And bro, that was a crazy fight. And you know what? He called out Aspinall. You know what? I actually really do not think Cyril Gane deserves a rematch. But I'm gonna be real. Tom Aspinall's beat Pavlovich and Volkov already. If Waldo Cortez Acosta is reasonably in the top 5, I think he should be in the top 5. I wouldn't mind seeing Aspinall versus Cortez Acosta. I wouldn't. You know what? Tom should go out there. He should beat Tom Cortez Acosta and be like, hey, fuck y'all guys. I ain't no quitter. You know, he should put a statement out. I think that's his next fight after Gane. Cortez Acosta. He came back. He beat a dangerous prospect like Ante Delija. I mean, and he knocked him out in the first round too. I mean, that's impressive. He's been doing really good this whole year. He's only lost is a competitive fight with Sergey Pavlovich. I mean, yeah, I think Cortez Acosta is very good. I was very much sleeping on him. I didn't rate him that high. He's proved me wrong. And you know what? I think he is actually pretty entertaining. So, he's been getting finishes, man. Next, we got the main event. Steve Garcia gets the round 1 KO over David Onama. I told you guys he would break him. David Onama doesn't do well in the face of adversity. He gets dropped by guys who were not that good. Roberto Romero, getting dropped by Roberto Romero on fucking short notice, that is just not a good look, especially when you're going against a guy like Steve Garcia. Steve Garcia is the real deal. He is so dangerous. And one thing about him, he's a power puncher. He has good power, but one thing about him is that he is a very calculated striker, and he knows how to pace himself, but he also he's confident in his striking. He's the one always pressing forward, dictating the fight, controlling the cage. David Onama, he kind of just backs up, and he kind of weathers the storm in the first round, and you just can't do that against Steve Garcia because he's just so dangerous. And that's exactly what happened. He KO'd him in the first round. I predicted second round TKO. I was thinking that David Onama would survive and then he would get caught. But no, he just couldn't survive. He just was so wobbled and so hurt. And you know what? He called out Max Holloway. It was a bullshit call out. I think the next fight he should have is Arnold Allen. If Arnold Allen wants to fight again, and he gets to fight again, he should fight Steve Garcia. And it would be a great way of Steve Garcia getting into the top 10, man. Arnold Allen is a big step up in competition. So, we'll really test, if Steve Garcia can really do that stuff. But this was an impressive win. David Onama was a step up in competition compared to Calvin Kattar. And he delivered. And he seems to only be getting better and better. And he seems to be much more sharper. He's been training in Greg Jackson's gym at Albuquerque. He is very much the real deal. And you know what? He could be 1-2 fights away from fighting for the title, man. He could. So, yeah. Anyways, that's all. Bye.